Hello everyone, Fancy here. You're watching Fantavision. Today, I'm discussing Microsoft and their continually disappointing exclusives. And it really pains me to say this. I don't hate the Xbox. I'm not a fanboy of any of the different systems. I enjoy them all for various reasons. But man, Microsoft has been such a disappointment with this generation. I mean, my lord. They started out by announcing a console that would have no used games. They started out with a console that bundled it with a stupid motion control, voice control camera, with the Xbox focusing on being a DVR for TV. And they mentioned TV like 1,000 times during E3. And there's even a second HDMI to use it as like a cable box or something. I don't even know if they kept that updated. I've never seen anybody use it as a DVR. I don't even know if that's a feature still. It's the only thing they did right was the controller, which I didn't like at first, but I've come around to it. I like it a lot, but man, even their Elite controllers or whatever they're called, those things have been breaking by just a lot of... I know people that have had to go through a couple of those controllers. It's just a disappointing generation for Microsoft. They came out of the last generation with just so much hype. I mean, they had so many great, amazing titles in the 360. I played the Xbox 360 more than any other console the last generation. It, in my mind, won because it had everything I wanted. All my friends were on it. The online worked really well. It was everything I wanted in a console. It was great. Lots of new IPs, lots of exclusives that I definitely wanted to play. And now we've come to this one, and I know I've said a lot of this before, but it needs to be said again how much of a disappointment this console really is. And that comes to it's just a constant disappointment that Xbox keeps it's just exclusive after exclusive that is just garbage. And I understand that this game isn't complete trash, but the fact that 3 exclusives have come out within the past year, and they're all just these middling, mediocre games. And that saddens me. Microsoft used to be the powerhouse console. They didn't have the most powerful console, but they had the console that everybody wanted because it had the games that everybody wanted to play. Now, the games aren't even really exclusive to only the Xbox. If you've got a PC, you can play a lot of these games on them, so it kind of makes their console a little bit pointless. And they have one good exclusive series, and that's it at the moment. That's it. They have Forza, and they've been trying to screw that up by adding microtransactions and loot boxes and just dumb crap. So when your system isn't selling nearly as well as your competition and you don't have any real draw because you don't have any exclusives, you need your few exclusives that you have to be amazing. This game specifically, I was so excited for it. I was so excited. Crackdown, the first one, was so much fun. I had so much fun with that game. I almost 100%ed it. I played the hell out of that game. It was just explosions and craziness, and it was one of the first games of that kind. Of course, there have been a lot since then. I know, Saints Row, you're basically a superhero in the newest one. I don't think they're even making Saints Row anymore, but I remember I could fly around and stuff. It reminded me of Crackdown, but it didn't have some of the things that I really liked about Crackdown, like the evolving car. Your character looks different over time. He changes with how you're getting your abilities leveled up. And this game had so much promise, so much hype built up around it for the fans of this series. Now, the sequel of Crackdown wasn't that amazing, wasn't that great. I didn't buy it. It was by a different developer, and you could tell. It was not a great game. Some people like it, that's fine, but I couldn't get into it. It was just zombies, and I was like, oh, you lost me. I don't want to deal with the infected in my Crackdown game. That's not what it's about. This looked like it was returning to its roots, and unfortunately it returned to its roots, and that's about it. It didn't improve on it at all. It just kind of went through and went, okay, we did basically everything that was in the first game, but we haven't made it better. The multiplayer, it still looks like a mess. You can't play with your friends at launch. I don't know. And then State of Decay 2. I heard the State of Decay 1 was a ton of fun. I couldn't wait to jump into that series. I was really excited. I saw the middling reviews, but I was like, no, you can't always trust the reviewer. You can't. They've got different opinions. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes gave a good score to the new Ghostbusters movie, and that was just a pile of dog shit. So you can't trust the critics. You can't do it. I should have trusted the critics. What an awful game. State of Decay 2. The shadows were like moving everywhere. The flashlights didn't make any sense. I was aiming the flashlight and somehow it was casting my shadow with my flashlight in front of me. That's not how flashlights work. It's like the light source was coming from behind me when I've got it out. That's stupid. And I know that's like, Fanta, you're nitpicking. No, I'm not, because you use your flashlight a lot at night. And you can't see shit if your shadow is in the way for some reason. So like 75% of your light source is covered by your character's shadow. Great. The multiplayer barely worked, kept losing people. The gameplay was buggy. The graphics looked like crap. It looked like an early 360 game. State of Decay 2 was a mess. And it was an Xbox exclusive. Sea of Thieves. Do I even need to talk about Sea of Thieves? What a disaster. What an awful game. And that's because, even with the updates, it's just the base game. The idea behind the game is just not good. The core gameplay loop is not good. They need to fix the entire game. You can't just add new content. You just can't add new skeletons. That's all they did again. They added more skeletons, and they added a giant fish that just destroys your boat when you get near it. Wonderful. I wanted more things to make the already repetitive, boring gameplay loop more difficult to achieve. Wonderful. Glad. They added a new boat. Now you can have 3 people or something like that on the boat instead of 2 and 4. Whoop-de-frickin' do. There's still no progression system besides cosmetics. And that's the key issue with the game. The quests are still collecting shit. That's the key issue with the game. I don't want to do that over and over and over. If you're enjoying the game, that's fine. But people like me that have been wanting an amazing open world pirate game where I can be a pirate with my friends, I want to plunder shit, I want to destroy other people's boats, I want to upgrade my boat, I want to get an awesome looking crew, I want cosmetics that look cool but also are functional, I want more weapons, I want more... There were some great things about that game. The water looks phenomenal. The graphic style, besides the characters, looks great. It has that type of graphics that you're like, this could age really well. But the characters all look like mongoloids, and that's a problem. They're all awful looking. So, it's just disappointment after disappointment. And it's really frustrating, you know? I was hoping, that's why I bought the Xbox. That's why I have all these systems, because I enjoy the exclusives and what they bring. And I know exclusives are annoying to a lot of people. But at the same time, look at PlayStation, look at Sony. Their exclusives kick ass. That's because there's this motivation behind these games besides just money. They want the players to enjoy themselves. They want to have more draws to their console. So they're putting out these high quality, wonderful games. What are you doing, Microsoft? You're Microsoft. How much money do you have? Use it. I know they've bought a lot of different development studios, but those studios, I mean, some of them aren't even that great. They bought the State of Decay studio. That didn't pay off very well. They bought Rare. That hasn't paid off very well. They bought the studio that created that awful, like, We Happy Few. If you like that game, again, that's fine. But I could not find an ounce of enjoyment in that game. I needed to pop one of those happy pills. Maybe I would have had a little bit more fun. But the game it was so broken. There's all of these games that keep coming out for these Xbox exclusive Game Pass, and they're just broken. At least they're free to the people that get it on Game Pass. That's what a lot of people in the comments were saying under a lot of these different reviews for Crackdown. They're saying it's the perfect Netflix. I think The Verge said that. I want to quote The Verge here. They said it's like the perfect like Netflix original game for Game Pass. And that's fine. That's fine. If it was only for Game Pass. If it was only for Game Pass and half the price of a normal game, that would be fine. But a lot of people might spend $60 on this, come to find that it's a short, disappointing game. That's how people felt when they bought Sea of Thieves. It was a empty, beautiful looking shell of a game. And I'm not saying this again. I'm not saying all this just shit on Xbox, but it's just disappointment after disappointment, getting really excited for these games, and then they come out, and I'm just sad. I know I have PlayStation and the Switch, and I can usually depend on those exclusives to be very well made and just amazing games. You can tell they put their heart and soul into those games. The in-house developers at Sony, props to you. You're doing a great job. The in-house developers at Nintendo, including Nintendo themselves, you're doing a fantastic job. Not on everything, okay. There's been a couple disappointments for sure on Nintendo. They're not perfect. But for the most part, both of those other consoles exclusives, you can be excited for without that worry. Because that's what's happening these days, is I have to constantly kind of like tamper down my hype for these games that are coming out, because it's like, well, I don't know, Fallout 76 was a pile of dog shit. I'm scared of Bethesda's next game. Well, Sea of Thieves wasn't that great, but this is a different developer. Oh, Microsoft's putting it out. It's exclusive, Crackdown 3, middling reviews, not an amazing game. It's just disappointing, and I hope that the next generation of the Xbox consoles figures it out. Microsoft needs to figure it out, because right now what they're doing is not okay. They're not gonna stay in the race. Even with as many fanboys as they have, they're not gonna stay in the race with just a Halo, unless that's as good as Halo 3. And I don't think that's ever gonna happen again, because we've seen what 343 can do, and they can't do anything, which is unfortunate. They couldn't even remake the Halo games. The Halo Master Chief Collection has been out for 4 years, and they're still updating the game with 20 to 30, sometimes 40 gigabyte patches. That's insane. The disc is basically worthless at this point. And I know some people have used that as an argument in the past for digital games, but that's one of the only games I can think of where the disc is just a broken game. A broken game is on that disc, and they have to constantly have you delete your entire game off of your hard drive and reinstall all of them, because it is a disaster. And they couldn't remake the old games. Their new games really aren't that great. Halo 4, Halo 5, not good games. Microsoft needs to figure it out. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they need to do it. If PlayStation 5 has backwards compatibility, I doubt it will. Some guy that doesn't believe in backwards compatibility, I guess, just got a higher ranking position in Sony, where he just took over the whole Sony games division, which is just awful, saying that nobody wants backwards compatibility. Bullshit. That's the only reason Microsoft is still afloat with the Xbox. Bullshit, people don't want backwards compatibility. If I could play PS3 games, if I could play PS4 games on the next system and just have my entire library and not have to deal with, oh great, better put this one away and put out the new console, or play this old console until the new one finally has games, I'd buy the damn console day one. That's why the Xbox 360 was so awesome. When I bought my 360, there weren't that many great games out already. There was like Call of Duty 2 and Oblivion. Besides that, the library wasn't great. But I also picked up original Xbox games with it, like Halo 2. So because they had the last generation to fall on until the better games came out for the new system, it was such a better experience. I have so many more fond memories of the Xbox 360 than I do the Xbox One or the PS4. And that's because of that backwards compatibility at launch. But, I mean, it also, the 360, of course, wasn't perfect. It was a broken mess of hardware. It was just kind of a pile of trash. It was literally a dumpster fire that would burn itself out. And you had to spend $100 on a wireless internet adapter. Do you guys remember that? What a pain in the ass, and what a ripoff. Console gaming has never been perfect, but my God, has Microsoft dropped the ball this generation. I'm hoping they fix their shit and come out with a better system, more exclusives, better games, and they invest in some developers that know what the hell they're doing. Because it's sad to keep seeing these games come out that I'm pretty excited for, just to see middling to mostly negative reviews. I wanted to love State of Decay. I wanted to love Sea of Thieves. And I definitely wanted to love Crackdown 3. But if they keep just half-assing it is what it feels like. Comment down below what you guys think of the new Crackdown game and what you guys think of Microsoft as a whole and the Xbox One. Because have a fantastic day. See you guys. Drinking LaCroix again. Pretty delicious. Pretty delicious. It's the berry one. I'm expecting a lot of dislikes on this video. There's a lot of very staunch defenders of Microsoft, Xbox fanboys. I don't get being a fanboy. I really don't. Whenever I enjoy something, I always want it to be better. If somebody gives me a legit reason, not, it's dumb, don't be a fanboy. Even if your system is almost perfect, there is something that could be better. There's always something that could be better. Don't just shit on everything. Have constructive criticism. It is fun to shit on things, I'm not going to lie. But come up with real logical reasons to make these things better. And when somebody does that, don't attack them, you know? Think about it. Think about it. If they took these things in stride instead of fighting back and saying, oh, Microsoft's perfect or Nintendo's perfect or Sony's perfect, then they would complain to the people that their console that they enjoy isn't up to standards and there are improvements they could make. Maybe Microsoft would listen to the community more if their community wasn't so busy sucking their own dicks. That's what I gotta say about PlayStation too. That's what I gotta say about Nintendo. So many things can be fixed about all these different systems, but there's so many fanboys that are muddying the water of criticism. Allow people to be critical of what you love. Because people like me who are critical of their own things that they love are just trying to make it better.